What's good, my people? What's good, my people? Welcome to the Sooner or Later Sports Show. We're out here in SEC Media Days. I am your host, Jay. We've got Coop in the house. We've got Jason joining us. Thank you all for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. I don't think we deserve it. Go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. So on today's episode, we've got a few fun topics to dive into. We're going to talk about SEC Media Days and kind of preempt to that. Who's in town? What it look like for the rest of us? We're going to dive into some massive improvements on the roster. And when I say massive, we're going to talk about some massive ones. We'll also dive a little bit into the latest coaching rankings that always seem to be a little ridiculous, but, just pure SEC talk there. And we'll wrap things up a little bit with the EA Sports video game, which launches tomorrow. And we all know those rankings are showing up. So we got to talk about how ridiculous some of them are. So, Jason, Coop, what it do? Happy Sunday. Thank y'all for pulling up as usual, man. Jason, let people know where to find you. And Coop, say what's up to everybody.
Yep, Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame college football with Jason and the coach, man. You know where to find us at CFB-pod. You can find us on the Bird app as well at JW_HOF. Thanks for having me on, my man.
Always. Coop, how you feeling, man?
I feel good, and I just want to say this is a happy birthday, dear Jay.
No.
Happy birthday. There we go. Happy birthday,
No.
Jay.
Happy birthday.
I appreciate it. Yep, your boy hit 41 today. Exactly 1 week from Coop, which is always funny to the fact that we're both July cancers. That's not real. Wow.
There it is.
See, I knew I shouldn't have gave you power. I should not have given you the ability to do this stuff. But no, I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank y'all. I see you. I'm on my iPad because, like I said, I'm here in Dallas for the SEC. Luckily, the Locked On folks was able to hook your boy up. Tried to get the rest of the crew on, and they told me, no, they kicked your boy out. So, but we gonna get. I'm in. So the good thing is now that I'm in, I'm like a virus. I'm gonna start infiltrating everything. We're gonna spread through like a cancer, and we're gonna get all our people plugged in. So, yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into things. Right, have ourselves a good time. I want to talk about SEC Media Days. Right, so. It's all week, starting Monday through Friday. All your heavy hitters really pull up here. Let me grab the list of the names. I actually had the list with me. Then I put it down, and then I realized, oh, wait, I put it down. Why did I not have it back here in front of me? But for those that care, the most important ones, the Sooners go on Tuesday. That's when you'll have Brent Venables, Jackson Arnold, as well as Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman. They'll be available for media availability. It'll be on the SEC network. And so I'll go through all day Monday, check out what's going on, and then on Tuesday, I'll be there to hopefully ask a question or two. And I've got some extra good ones. And shout out to those in the court. I had a couple people who asked what questions should be asked. And of course, everybody decided to show some love and give me some very good questions that I may steal. Correction, I am going to steal. I'm going to take all credit for it. Lying, but I'm definitely going to steal and we're going to leverage it. So, Coop, man, going to SEC Media Day, man, what do you expect coming down the line, especially when we're talking about some of these other teams? What are you looking forward to hearing about?
It's great because when you've heard about the Big 12 Media Days, you've already heard, a lot of guys talking about how this is just completely different, right? Because you walk into this conference, and this conference has the stature of, we know who we are, right? And so SEC, Greg Sankey, a lot of the people talk about, well, why is all the AC chatting or SEC chatting? Because not all of them have been winning anything, but I think that when you got a great guy in Sankey over the top of everything. He is one of the best commissioners that's ever done this game. You've got legacy and tradition. These programs have such big tradition just across, and that's no shot at anything for the Big 12. But I mean, at the same time, you got the Floridas, you've got the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Auburns, Arkansas, Ole Miss, all of these people with great tradition. And so you got these guys coming in, and they all have this air of confidence in there. And so, I'm really excited because now it's going to be I think it's going to be a really, really big piece, because when we show up and you get a chance for Brent Venables and Sarkisian to come in, there's going to be a lot of questions, because not a lot of people know a lot about Oklahoma and Texas, and they've only been kind of hopping in here and getting in, checking out the Sooners, for the past couple of weeks. And so now we're going to be hopping in, and you get to hear from them for the first time. You get to hear who Brent Venables is, and I promise you, a lot of people are going to be really, really impressed with both of those guys. You've seen Sarkisian at OC in the SEC, but now you got these new two coming in, and how did the rest of the teams handle all the questions about OU and Texas? Because those answers are going to be pretty indicative. And you don't want to throw out any what's the word I'm looking for? You don't want to throw out any bulletin board material, because BV is going to take that and he's going to run with it.
Yeah, no, that's actually the thing I was thinking about is what is everybody else going to say about us? Because of course everybody's first question is, so how do you feel about Oklahoma and Texas joining the conference? And you got to see exactly how upset or happy people are going to be. Jason, what you thinking about coming into the SEC Media Days? What are you kind of looking forward to or expecting from these coaches and some of these players?
I think most of the coaches will do what they do, and a lot of coach speak, and that Oklahoma and Texas enhance the stature of the SEC, but they're going to come in here and get our best shot, blah blah blah. I mean, it'll be coach speak. We know what's being said, really, because it's trickled down into the fan bases, and it's I know I'm quite sure that your comment section looks pretty similar to mine there, Jay. You've got folks that say a lot of stuff on the daily, about how Oklahoma isn't ready, and the funny one is when they say Texas is, but Oklahoma isn't. But it's a bunch of that jibber jabber, and it's to me it's that kid that's talking tough in walking through the graveyard and whistling. So you know what I mean, because you just that you're about to catch one, and I love it. The more that they talk, the more that Sooner fans hear it, and I think it's kind of gotten to the point the last couple of weeks where you see, and it doesn't take much to set a Sooner fan off, but lately in the last few weeks, even when you're seeing Sooner fans being respectful and being like, look, man, we're just coming to compete. And I think that's kind of what we talked about last week when we talked about Teddy and what he had to say. And it really upset a lot of SEC creators around the country. But he wasn't saying Oklahoma was coming to dominate. He was saying we're going to come and compete every week. Yes, Oklahoma has to adjust to the SEC. Guess what? The SEC gets to adjust to Oklahoma too. So
that's a very good point. It's
funny. I think it's fun, Oh no,
I'm with you on that. What's funny about that is nothing that Teddy said was a lie, right? Like the only person that's won an SEC championship is Kirby Smart that's left in the conference. There has been a lot of turnover on coaches over the last few years. We're now on a fresh crop. We've got some coaches on the hot seat because they've been there 4 years and they haven't done anything yet. We're waiting for them to get fired. We've seen the same thing. We got a lot of new coaches, new faces, with not only Texas and Oklahoma joining. Mississippi State's got a new coach, with Jeff Levy, right? Some coaches only they're 2 years in, Brian Kelly, Josh Heupel, Billy Napier is about the point where he's on the hot seat heavily. Clark Lay is as well. It's not illogical to say that ain't nobody else done anything in the SEC besides your Kirby Smart, who's the most tenured guy there left. Kellen DeBoer's new. Recruiting great, but we still got to see what he looks like as a coach. I mean, you can recruit great. Texas A&M got a new coach now because the last coach could coach great and could recruit great, but couldn't coach for a lick, right? He was too busy, stuck in his old ways. So it's not even really shitting on SEC other teams. It's just pointing out the facts, right? And it's okay. Oklahoma's going to have to compete. A lot
was in response to what you were hearing and he was hearing from not just from fans. It's not coming from fans. It's coming from creators that are sitting there trying to say that Oklahoma can't come in here and be what they've always been. Like this is still Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma Sooners.
I think my favorite thing I heard that Andy Staples said from On 3, by the way, I got to meet him today too. He's pretty nice, pretty cool dude. He said this on Oklahoma Breakdown, and he was talking about, I mentioned it in one of my videos, but for the most part, to paraphrase, he said that no matter where Oklahoma's been, they have found a way to get to the top. Every conference they've ever been in, at some point, they find a way to get up to the top. So this won't be any different. It may start off slow. It may take 2 years to figure it out, but Oklahoma has always found a way to get at the upper echelon of every conference they've ever been in.
Yep.
What makes anybody think it's going to be any different now, right? So for us, all you got to do is keep getting, big boys. And guess what we did? We're starting to get big boys. We'll talk about that in a few minutes because we definitely got to look at the massive improvements from this roster. But I did want to toss in some recruiting too, right? I kind of forgot to throw that in the rundown. So I think this is important. Real quick, we've got 2 big commitment dates coming up for us. July 20th, you have Floyd Ricard, the big defensive tackle out of Miami Central High School in Miami, Florida. And then you've got the big 5-star offensive tackle in Michael Fasusi, who's doing all of his on August 21st. Now, I'm going to pass to y'all in just a second, but real quick, thank y'all for pulling up. Hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe if you're listening, rate, review, and give us those 5 stars. So when it comes to those guys, so we just saw Ty Haywood went ahead and committed to Alabama. We knew that was coming. Like, that wasn't a secret. Everybody saw that he was leaning that heavily for a while, and happy for him, right? Was hoping we could land him, but life happens. Well, Ricard, Coop, fantastic job on the interview. Everyone's raved about it. I've been getting messages about it. People love what you're doing on the interview trail. So you will definitely be continuing that. Good job. You did a good job on something, and now it's your job moving forward. Congratulations. You're just giving yourself more work. You know how it is, how we used to get at Verizon. That's how it was.
Yeah.
Find out somebody's good at it, you're going to do it more often. So,
you're going to do it.
You're going to do it. That is now your job. So Coop is the interview person. We're going to figure out the next set. But no, Floyd sounds like he's still conflicted. The good thing for Oklahoma is he's not a Miami native. He is a transplant. He is from Canada. So there's a lot of components that could potentially lean in anybody's direction, right? I don't think the nation is limited to him. So, Coop, how you feeling? Now you see his date after your interview. How do you feel about Floyd and what you think, it looks like for the Sooners going forward?
Yeah, I mean, you said it right when you said, he's still conflicted. I asked him if he's going to let the coaching staff know a few days out or if he'd already done it yet. And he said, I really want to, but he's like, he said, I'm a man of my word, and I don't want to tell a coaching staff that I'm going to do that and then walk back. And so his big pieces, he NIL does play a factor in this, but not because he wants to just cash in for everything that he has. NIL is a big piece because he wants to take care of his family. And we had a conversation off screen about, just made the comment about how, I've had to do that also with some of my family members. And he asked me, how does that feel? And so that is a big piece for him. And but if you add Floyd Ricard to what we have on the defensive line already, that's a great run. And to go with the guys that we had last cycle, I do say this is, we talked about poutine. If you saw that one too, that was great because even though he loves Haitian food, he loved the poutine. That was a big thing. And but no, I mean, loved getting a chance to chat it up with Floyd, and he was in the airport. One of the big things he says is, once he commits, he's done. He's shutting it down. He's not going to any other campuses. That was a really, really big because I asked and I said about Party at the Palace. And he said, well, and he stopped and he gathered himself and said, if I commit to somebody else, I'm not going to show up at any other schools. He's like, that's disrespectful to the coaches and everything they've done. And he said the hardest part about the recruiting, if you saw in the interview, was that it's going and talking to these coaches after, developing relationships for the past couple of years and telling them listen, I love you and I love your spot. But I found somewhere that's, better for me.
More for you.
And
yeah.
So, so if you read the tea leaves and you read the pieces and the things that really the staff, Brent Venables led staff, is about, a lot of those were big. A lot of those were big with him. And the one that, always threw me a little bit of curveball was he didn't care which conference he was going to play in. And so, want to see if we can add him in because I like the guy. And I really think that, if he comes here, this is a place where he can grow as a man. It's a safe environment for his family, and he can take care of that family. And so Floyd's just one that I really hope does pull the trigger on Oklahoma here at the end of this on the 20th.
Jason, how you feeling about this opportunity with this Floyd Ricard, and then as well as Michael Fasusi, and we'll lean back into Coop on that one afterwards.
Listen, I shout out to Coop, obviously, for that amazing interview. Great. He is, you should just go ahead and pigeonhole his ass right into it there, Jay. But no, I liked it. And I think, to me, it felt like he did a lot better job of like holding his cards closer to the vest than the last one.
Very much.
That's a very fair point.
But I also got the feeling that he's really happy with Oklahoma, and it seems like he's definitely excited about the opportunity to maybe end up being a Sooner. Whatever happens, I tend to feel like, and I guess I've told you the guys this quite a few times, but I feel like the guys that are supposed to be Sooners end up being Sooners, just because of the way that they build these relationships. I mean, sometimes you're going to miss, sometimes you're going to miss them. And I think the same goes for Fasusi. Everything that I've seen and heard, and when I say see and hear, I don't care about what the quote unquote insiders think at Texas or really what the insiders think here. I know guys that we talk to every day that talk to this kid. He likes Oklahoma too. I think it to me, it feels like Fasusi. I've been saying, I think he's an Oklahoma Sooner. I don't think
it feels like it.
It does feel like it. And if he, again, I'll just go ahead and say this again. If he's not, okay. What I do know is this, maybe you get Babaloa, maybe you don't. I don't know. But I do know that the right guys will end up in that room. The guys that want to be developed into NFL offensive linemen, because all you have to do is look at it. If you really want to make your money, you better come to Oklahoma, because you're going to get your NIL stuff. You're going to get your, the revenue share, all that kind of stuff is coming down the pike. That's going to happen.
Right.
But the real money is at the next level. And for offensive linemen, there is no better place to be than right here in Norman, period. So I feel like the right guys will end up being there. You guys know how I feel about some of these guys don't go to camps. So they're not necessarily ever going to be a 5-star guy.
Yeah.
Who cares? That, Trent Williams was a 3-star. I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean?
Right. And no, you're right. That is the thing. It's, if you're looking at going to the next level, we all know that Beatonbow is one of the best to do it, and he's put back-to-back years of first rounders, right? And if things come to fruition the way they look like for this season, there's a good chance he can have one more. And so, I feel like personally, Fasusi feels like our David Stone recruitment this year. Right, we had the questions around Stoney last year. He was hoping to bring him home, or was he going to stay closer to where he's currently at? And I know that Fasusi isn't from Oklahoma, but he has a real love for Beatonbow, and he keeps calling him the GOAT, man. I keep going back to that. He talks him up a lot. I wonder if Austin is more his vibes. It doesn't seem like that's his vibe. The boards are not looking favorable to that, but at the same time, man, I just think that he's a great talent, and he feels like our Stone recruitment, and I'm hoping that it does end in our direction. Coop, Fasusi, then we're gonna go right into improvements.
Yeah, and Fasusi, I'll say this: Beatonbow has gotten a lot of criticism. There's been a lot of criticism, and a lot of Beatonbow, whether you want to call us Beatonbow an apologist or whatever. Beatonbow was playing with one hand tied behind his back for the past couple of years. And I'm talking about the, 15, 16, 17 cycles, because a lot of these guys were coming here and they didn't want to do beach body type of strength and conditioning. And that was hard. And, of a couple of his classes, guys just didn't pan out. And I think that's the big thing with offensive linemen is if you are a big, strong offensive lineman in high school, it is very, very, very easily forgotten that there's not a lot of big-time defensive linemen in high school. And so you're out there pushing around 240-pound DNs, and they don't have an ounce of muscle, outside of just their size. And so that's a tough go. But I still say this. I think Fasusi is an Oklahoma Sooner. I honestly believe it, because I think that this staff has set the bar. And every single time that he left Oklahoma, that bar was reestablished. And so why do I think that that's a big deal? Is because it made Texas extremely reactive. They had to be reactive. And when you're trying to be reactive, you can try to do something that's outside of who you are. And that's not always it. So you've seen the Texas mods. They've walked back on Fasusi quite a bit. Everybody around here wants to be cautiously optimistic, and that does OUI, Sooner Scoop, at 247. Any guy that you see that's putting out recruiting stuff, and we always give PG a shout out because he has had a great relationship built with Michael Fasusi. Now, is Michael Fasusi a guy that shows up day one and is an automatic starter? I don't believe so. He still has to come. Dude just turned 17. He still has to come in, and he still has to come in and compete. And the cats that are on campus right now, and I'll lead with Isaiah Autry-Dent, that kid is going to be a monster. And it was going to be a tall ask with who's on campus and Bill Bedenbaugh's history of evaluation and coaching and getting these guys to become phenomenal offensive linemen. That does, people do know it's hard to say, like, yes, he does great for development, but I know that I'm better than all the guys who've been on campus for a few years. And so to get Fasusi, Babalola, Foje, and then also throwing in, Lamont Rogers, that was never going to happen, guys. It just was not going to happen. So I still say Bill Bedenbaugh can mess around and still get Recruiter of the Year, because with Foje, he is going to be a borderline, if not a 5-star. If you have Fasusi, Hollenbeck is one of the top centers, and then Hutton already right there, and then Afalava, I think, is that next Trent Williams, that next Davin Joseph guy who is a lower recruited because of the camp circuits. But you look at the offer list, you always got to chase the offers, and Afalava is an absolute steal. And that's not just because I did an interview with him. I'm going to do an interview with Hutton too here this week, and just a little bit more about who he is. But Bill Bedenbaugh is going to have himself in. If he doesn't win it, he's going to be a finalist for the Recruit of the Year at the end of this year. And so with that being said, is if you've ever been at a spot where you're like, man, Jason, I hear you say it all the time, I'm not going to worry about Oklahoma's offense. With the offensive line, I'm not going to worry about that. And I think that we're going to be pleasantly surprised with this year and the recruiting.
I agree. Spot on with that. So, all right, let's move on to the next thing. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit that like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, all of that jazz. All right, Coop popped it up on the screen for us. Thank you so much, sir. Here's your massive improvements, right? So as you see this is going to be, we're only going to focus on the trenches today. We'll talk about the other positions another day, because this is going to be like a 30-minute conversation by itself, to be absolutely honest. But the Sooner Sports site started updating the heights and weights of the players, right? So we start to see some updated numbers on size. And as you can see, shout out to my boy Popo, Stats by Popo, my guy. He always puts this out for us in the cord. But we got to see some size changes here. Now, let me go ahead and put this in perspective for you, right? I'm pulling up George Stoya's tweet that he put out showing this exact same information, offensive line-wise. This is who Popo thinks is going to be on the start. I have Jake Taylor starting over Michael Tarkin, but it's neither here nor there at this current moment. But this is what those size differences are. So Jake Taylor's up to 309. That's an additional 6 pounds than before. Spencer Brown up there at 321, back up at left tackle. He's up to 321, 7 pounds more than he was when he got here, right? Logan Howland came in at just over 306 pounds. He's now 317. Fabici Waywoo's up 13 pounds since he got here. He's at 339 in the interior. Heath Uzeda is up 6 pounds at 318 on the interior, right? Branson Hickman's new, of course, and so is Eddie Pierre-Louis. So we don't really have that. Well, actually, Eddie Pierre-Louis was 330 pounds when he was a recruit. He's 305 now. He's only been here this summer, guys, right? Yeah. Dog, these numbers are beastly on the offensive line. We've got everybody's over 310 except for Hickman, which he'll probably maintain there because he's the center, which is still up. I think he was like 290 when he initially got here. Talk to me, Coop. When you saw those numbers for this offensive line, what jumped out to you?
Over 300. I went back and I looked at the 2020 line. I looked back at the 2008 line. I looked at the 2017 line. And these are strong boys. And what does that mean? If you guys saw the video, they were out at the rodeo or whatever, and they put the offensive line group on the scale that they weigh the cattle with. And they had all those guys out there. Big Sexy was out there. He took a lot of stuff on it. So if you follow him on Instagram, you can go check out those things. But this is what you're looking for. Heath Uzeda, this is a gentle giant that is about to put some, foot to butt. He is continuing to get bigger and bigger. Garen Hatchett, he is now healthy and working out. The light has come on for Tarquin and Spencer Brown. These two guys have started to get back to what really made them well. And so now you've got the guys who look the part. They are massive human beings, which you have to have in the SEC. Now, Bill Bedenbaugh has every single year, his annual job of who is my best five. And I think the best five is going to be Hickman's going to be there, and I think Wee-Woo is going to be at the right guard. I don't know if that changes at all. So now you have the right tackle, and left guard, and I think that those three positions, if he can find the three that work the best together, communicate with each other, that's going to be it. And I think it starts on the field with Branson Hickman. And so you love having a guy who, freshman All-American, who has played the center he pushed around Dominic Williams pretty well in their matchup. So he is going to be a dude. Can these guys get to a spot to where it's consistent? Can they get to a spot to where they know what each other's doing? And I think the answer is yes. That has been the hope that all Sooners have had, because this is there is not a returning starter on this graphic. So these guys get to grow together. And so if they start out good and they continue to get stronger, we've all seen the Bedenbaugh line come together, slowly throughout the season. This is going to be one of the main focus points for a lot of Sooner fans. But I say it again, if you've ever had a coach that you just trust that these great quality athletes with great size, it's Bedenbaugh.
Jason, seeing this offensive line, man, what jumped out to you when you see these numbers and heard those improvements?
I counted 17 offensive linemen. 16 of them are over 300 pounds. 16 of them are over 300 pounds. What a difference it makes when you have a strength and conditioning coach that doesn't specialize in Tybo or Tebow. I don't know.
Hey, big boys, man. Look at that. Eddie Pierre-Louis comes in at 330. He's 305 now, right? Obviously, he was working before he came, but now you can tell that he's still working, right? And I heard that he's being monstrous in the training, right? So, no, Coop, you're spot on with the fact that this entire line gets to gel themselves. They get to start something anew together. All they got to do now is execute on it. And Jason, yeah, man, that's a lot of big boys. And that's something we've been wanting, right? And if somebody mentioned this in the comments, which I love, which is a great point. Let me point this out to you. Dagger point this out here, and he says, "I love the size as long as they can carry the weight." Yeah. The beauty of it is that Jerry Schmidt is the one that's working them. And we know that he makes sure that they can carry that weight. That's got to be weight that's executable on. You can't be rocking something that size and not be executable on if you actually plan on playing here, right? So they're getting them to the size they need to be. Josh Isosa's dropped weight. He's at 323. He was at 330 something when he first came in. It's like the bigger guys are dropping weight into more of a good weight, a weight that's carryable. And then the guys that were smaller are getting that weight up so they can do they can carry it as well. But yeah, and Steven, you are 100% right, Steven. That private chef is putting in work. So you got good weight on them on top of good training and hard work. You still got to put in the work. Obviously they are, Coop. Craziness, right? Like, so let me ask you this, Coop, line-wise, do you think this is the starting lineup for you?
This is not what I had on mine. I think I was more, in with you with Tarquin being the swing with Sexton and maybe Taylor being that right tackle. It's going to be, what is Jake Taylor? How do his feet work? Because his footwork is is I think that Achilles heel for him at the moment. So if this is what gets rolled out game one, or if it's Taylor at the right tackle, or hell, if it's Tarquin at the left tackle and Sexton at left guard, we've seen a lot of those pieces, but it's who works the best together. And you're going to see these cats rolling in, and you're going to see a lot of different lineups. And so it's this is happy time. Like, when you look at this, there's not much to be sad about right here. Right.
At all. Nothing to be. Yeah, this is exciting times, man. Jason, man, Tarquin's coming in there at 317, which is 6 pounds up. Of course, everybody has concerns about him when he was at USC, and even some Florida folks have had concerns about him at Florida. It feels like he's improved. What you think?
Yeah, I think that, when I'm looking here at Boomer 129, he said Bama's smallest O-lineman is still bigger than our biggest O-lineman. And I don't think that you can't just look at it in terms of big, because if you look at what happened last year with that big offensive line, they weren't good at a lot of things. They were good at run blocking. They were awful at pass pro.
They gave up almost 50 sacks.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, so the thing is, it's not just about size. I think that, there was a lack of size that was going on in Oklahoma that we needed to address, and I think it's been addressed. And I think when you kind of look at some of these guys, I kind of think about Xavier Robinson coming in at 240 pounds, and then now he's down to like 217 or something like that, right? And we saw from when he went from 240 down to 227 on the last roster, I think is what it was. That goes to show you that it's not just about the weight so much. It's like you said, can you carry that weight? Are you giving them the strength that they need? I think that has a lot to do with what, hey man, Jerry Schmidt has not, he's not considered one of the best in the country, period, for no reason. I mean, he knows what he's doing there. I think that he's putting the right guys in the right place. I mean, what did we have? You said that EPL dropped like 30, right? It's like 30
about 25 pounds roughly. Yeah, roughly 25 pounds. So,
I mean, look, guys, it's not just about that. Strength is what really matters. The weight is great. The strength is important. And so if they're getting stronger, whether they drop a few pounds or gain a few pounds, what that particular player needed to do is what's happening. So I don't worry too much about that. To me, I don't think that you can look at every team just go by certain little things like that. I think it's the same reason that all of us Sooner fans are sick and tired of hearing what Oklahoma isn't compared to what their teams are over there, because they don't pay that much attention to what's really happening here. Just like maybe some people don't pay that much attention to the rosters over there either. I tend to look at everybody's roster, but I know a lot of people don't. And so to me, I'm not concerned with it. I hate to be that broken record guy that I don't worry about this kind of stuff, but I don't worry about this kind of stuff. There's other things to worry about,
Agreed. And this was the one thing I mentioned about that the O-line's going to surprise us. I think that they'll gel fine. It'll take a couple games, but the good thing is we've got some good non-conferences to prepare for. But let's move to defensive line, because defensive line was also a massive improvement. As you can see on here, you have Dominic Williams as well as Dejoun Terry, both in the 300 range, and as well as Jaden Jackson, who has officially hit 300 status. That's 3 dudes on the D line at 300 pounds. If you want to go right into 290 in the 295 and up range to include that, who one's right there on the fringe, David Stone's at 294, right there at the line. Devon Sears is at 295. Ashton Champ Sanders is at 295. Grayson Halton's at 291. G-Baby's right there. He's pushing to get himself 7 pounds up more, pushing himself to get almost 300 pounds and be functional with it. But, man, I'm going to tell you this. Coop, I'm going to ask you who jumped out to you, because the one that jumped out to me, you probably know. 2 of them actually jumped out to me like crazy. Is Caden Woolard at 295, maintaining that area. Dog, how did Nigel Smith get to 267? Like, somebody explain that to me. Jeez Louise.
It's and as somebody just said it right on there too. Okoye is, the text messages. It's crazy because it's like a very, very healthy stock market every single time that he texts me with a different weight. And this goes, on this side. Look at the middle. You got John Terry at 323, Dominic Williams at 319. That's what you need, because when you're running, whether it's that zero tech or that one, we got to have somebody in there who's going to be an anchor. And what does that do? That frees up the linebacking core. And I feel like we know how to do that game now with the gats that we got there at the linebacking core. The strength, the weight numbers and everything that I'm looking at right here from the defensive side of the ball, there's a couple of things. Last year at this time, we were looking at number of guys that we were excited about on the defensive line, not guys that we were like, oh God, just hopefully we don't make it to that person. Well, now we got questions in the chat saying, well, hold on a second, Jaden Jackson's the third team guy. Those are the reactions we want, because we've been hearing that Jaden Jackson is him. And so I think that this is the absolute piece that you should be excited about. Is Devon Sears was balling out in spring ball, and things are clicking. Caden Woolard is a kid that a lot of casual Sooner fans are not going to know that cat's name, and you will soon. Ethan Downs, I think, is about to have his manifesto this year, and because he is not only a great leader, a great kid, but when we've seen the bright lights come on, it like Ethan has surprised a lot of people, and so. G-Baby back up there towards the 300 spot. He is more of your pass rush specialist on that defensive line. R. Mason keeping that 240. I think he was in the 220 range last year. So, I mean, you can't. PJ is up to 251 too. There's just so much. There's so much in here that you're looking at, and you're just like, oh wow, So now these cats have been putting on this weight. They've been working on technique. They've been working with the coaching staff, and all 55 of them now. And now they are going to be ready for August 30th, because it's time to tee off and tackle somebody other than the guy in Crimson and Cream practice jersey across from you. And the iron sharpens iron is when you look at this whole list, iron sharpens iron. These guys are going against, this defense is going to be one of the better defenses in the SEC. And that's who the offense has been practicing against. I mean, you forget about guys like Trace Ford. Like, you're like, oh, Trace Ford's still here. I forgot.
Can I get a Nigel Smith?
Yeah.
Can I get a Nigel Smith? He's put on about 15 pounds too.
Yeah. He's gotten probably the thickest out there. I mean, 267. That's where he came in at around 240 something, right?
Yeah, it's at least 15 pounds. I know. I think he was 247, maybe something like that. So 15, 20 pounds. So to me, and I've been saying this a lot. I know that we had him. Now we had him on the show last year. Remember, before he ever committed, and he talked about that he didn't want to be that guy that hit 300 pounds because he wants to be able to bounce between the inside and the outside. And be more of that versatile player. Remember, I mean, that was one of the things that he was very outspoken about. One thing we know about Nigel Smith is that he's taken it upon himself to get bigger and stronger in the weight room outside of Oklahoma before he ever got here. His coaches have raved about him back at Melissa about how that's the dude that even during, spring break, he was in there for 2 days, to work out. So to me, he leaves leaves spring practices and goes back to Melissa and doesn't do spring break. He goes and works out for spring break. This guy is a guy that works on his craft. He wants to play in year one and be somewhere in the mix. I've said, don't sleep on that one. That kid, he's going to come in ready, and he's gonna make sure that he gets his opportunities probably early on, I would think.
I'll be honest. Bringing in this class, we got 5 dudes that's going to fight for time. Right, Stone's going to definitely fight for time. So is Jaden Jackson. Nigel Smith is. So is Daniel Okoye. He's going to fight for time. And honestly, Wyatt Gilmore may actually surprise some folks and try to push for there too. But you still got more dudes back there. I mean, you had Taylor Wine out there. He's like 260 something as well. I think 267 as well. So you got another big edge, the one that we found out in Tennessee when we was looking at a wide receiver. We looking on tape like, oh my God, who is this guy? Right? And he's giant. Like he's 6'3", 6'4". So you got these tall dudes and strong ones just out of nowhere that, hey, man, this defensive line's going to be better. So just for
can I say one thing real quick there, Jay?
Go ahead. Let me explain this one thing real quick.
Yeah,
you see these positions on here, that's not everybody's going to be in the field at one time. It's going to be based upon whatever formations we have. So I just want to clear that up for some folks if they're wondering, wait, we're going to play 6 linemen at one time? No. Goal line, but for the most part, this is depending on what the formation is. That's the technique that will need to be there: 4T, 0T, 1T, or a jack, etc. Go ahead, Jason.
I just wanted to say on behalf of myself and K. Chris that we love you, Ethan Downs, and we are apologizing for ever doubting you.
That's awesome.
Hey, man, Downs may end up getting himself a double-digit sack season because the good thing for us this year is, guess what? We probably will see Max Protect maybe twice all season. I sense we'll see it against Temple and we'll see it against Maine. I don't know if we're going to see Max Protect against Houston, Tulane, and everybody else. That changes things, right? Last season when we didn't see Max Protect, we were getting 4 and 5 sack games. I think we saw it 3 times. 3 times we didn't see it. We got a bunch of sacks. Every other time it was all Max Protect. Put the secondary pressure on them. This year, I believe that with the work that we've been putting in, that's going to change. We're going to be getting to that quarterback. That's all that matters, right?
And one more thing is, I think Dominic Williams coming in and if it's health for Halton, the best way to beat Max Protect is push right up the middle.
That's
and if you can win the one-on-ones and they can, you know, if you have to find out, if you have to struggle on who do we double team, I don't think that there is a spot right now. If the defensive ends with Woolard, Downs, or Mason, Ford, Nigel, Okoye, if these guys, that pass rush game has continued to improve. This is a big year for Miguel Chavis, and I see it here. Max Protect is you're keeping extra tight end, you're keeping a running back, you've got more blockers than we have defensive players coming, and so you are not able to actually have a PJ. I'm not forgetting about PJ. There's too many names to quote here. It's like I'm reading off the dadgum roster. So, but that is a big thing. Is this line allows the back end of our defense, which is still seen as the absolute strength between the linebackers, safeties, and corners. This allows them to eat. And when you've got ball hawks like we got out there, that's happy time for people on defense.
Yeah, you need to have you want them to be able to have more one-on-ones and be able to beat that guy instead of having, dealing with a bunch of double teams. And you want them to question that, right? So Jesse, you're welcome. We're glad that we were able to get you the explanation on that Max Protect. A lot of these teams recognize that when we played in the Big 12. They recognize that we had some size on us. And so what they're going to do, they're going to go ahead and put more people out there that have extra blockers at a fullback, right? It's going to be few wide receivers, whole bunch of people in. And then at that point, if you do a whole bunch of confusing routes and stuff, the secondary is basically the pressure's on them to keep up with everybody. But no, they were smart. They were smart about doing that to kind of slow us down. But I mean, we were still scoring like 60 points in a lot of games. So even though they did it didn't prevent us from winning a game, right? It was.
Well, then you think about it, when they weren't the teams that didn't get into Max Protect. I mean, we sacked Quinn Ewers 5 times.
Yeah, against Texas, right? And everybody's raving about Texas' offensive line last year.
Their offensive line is supposed to be the best offensive line in the country, and they gave up 5 sacks. So you didn't get home all the time on max protects as far as sacks were concerned, but you got an awful lot of pressures, which equated to an awful lot of turnovers as well. So you can't always just look at it as how many sacks do they get. I think it's, in a vacuum, you can obviously look at those numbers and say, yeah, that's part of the reason we didn't do A or B or C. But if that might be true if you're also not getting pressures and forcing turnovers. They were doing that part. I think what it boils down to, what happened with the offense at the end of the season, was you just ran out of depth pieces that knew what their job was on the defensive side of the ball. You didn't have a bunch of guys that knew their assignments, so you couldn't really put them in. And some of the guys that it was a drop off. It was too much of a drop off when you started losing guys like Danny Stutzman. You lost Gentry, for a good part of that. Peyton Bowen.
Yep.
There was a lot of guys that weren't in there, and I think the guys that it wasn't that you didn't have health, but they didn't have enough experience to be able to, but I also think of it in terms of a guy like Makari Vickers. Yeah, he went through some struggles at times, but he probably also got some much needed seasoning just from being in there under fire like that. You know what I mean? So I think it helps you in the long run, even though it didn't help you at the end of the year.
That's a good point. That's a fair point. And long term, this does nothing but help us, right? We need guys that the competitive depth that we need, and we're getting it right now. You've got, players that if someone gets hurt, we got guys that can come move right in and play. That's the one thing that we really were missing over the first couple of years here, was that they were stockpiling, restocking the cupboard, right? They were bringing in new people, but then you still got to learn the defense, still got to learn the calls, you got to still learn the techniques, etc. I think that's the beauty of going into this year. And you will hear me say this every time I talk about the defense. I'm very bullish about this defense, is because this is the third year for Brent Venables to have this many people in his system. That is a recipe for a massive jump in the efficiency rating, right? Phil Steele dropped his in that book, and I broke down a little bit of that in a video, but the cliff notes here is this. Phil Steele had us rated at like the 7th ranked defense last season. And what he does different than everybody else is he also looks at who the quarterbacks are you go against and the way that they put up numbers against everybody else. That skews it. That helps the number because we did good against quarterbacks. What we struggled at was we gave up a lot of yards. And a lot of people have pointed that out to me. Cool story. We didn't give up a lot of points. That's what's most important. Sure, we'll give you 20-20. We had 3 or 4 goal line stands last year on 4 downs in a row. That's the one thing a lot of people don't get to understand, that's the most important piece. Yeah, we'll let you get yourself close. We ain't giving up touchdowns. We'll give us field goals. We ain't giving up touchdowns. And that, to me, is the definition of a Brent Venables defense, and that, to me, is the most important thing. And that's one question I'm going to ask him. I'm going to ask Venables tomorrow if I get the opportunity to. I'm going to ask, hey, last year, your team was not giving up very many touchdowns. Is that going to be the philosophy this coming season? I sense it's going to be 20-20 is where the struggles are. Anything past 20, nah. Y'all going to suck in the red zone against us. But cool, final thoughts?
Yeah, it's how many years have we sat in the stands, and the moment the ball got within the 30-yard line, you just were like, all right, time for the offense again. Like you didn't even assume that we were going to stop. Like it just wasn't there. I think that first goal line stand last year, I think everybody was like, hold on a second.
It broke a lot of people.
And that we made the plays, not they had, they messed up or something, some weird lucky penalty happened or anything like that. Like that was the only chance that we had to stop them is if they hurt themselves. And I think that going against the Oklahoma, and you see it now out west, is all you have to do is just execute. They are going to blow it for themselves. And now this defense not only doesn't have to go into that mentality now, and I said it in the chat, this is the first time that Brent Venables at Oklahoma has had the cupboard full. He's got playmakers at every single level, and he can do what he wants. And Brent Venables is going to put folks in a dadgum washing machine, and he is putting it on spin cycle. You have no clue what he's going to do. And that is where we get to see that Clemson defense here in Norman.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Dagger says red zone defense matters more than the big play, and I totally agree with you. And if you think about it, prior to all those injuries, they were what, top 4, top 5 in the country. They dropped all the way back to the 40s once after all that. But again, when you are among the top 2 or 3 in the country in turnover differential, and you can stop, and that they may move the ball between the 20s, but they're not going to get into the end zone all the time. That's a big deal. And again, we're talking about, this was a defense we're talking about that they had to put together in 1 year. In 1 year, with the cupboard not full like it is right now, and the guys that were in the building, they really just weren't ready, a lot of them, to be on the field too much. And so for them to do what they did, I think it's easy to skew the numbers. And sometimes it's like I said, I love Pro Football Focus, but sometimes that is cherry picking a lot of little things, because you can look at, they grade things in so many different ways. But when you look at the big ones, what's the most important thing is how many points you giving up. How many points I don't care how many yards they give up per play. If they give up a lot of yards per play, they're going to probably give up a lot of points too. But if they're not giving up a bunch of points, then that's the important thing. I think, to me, I want to see them be a top 10 scoring defense. Do that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Be back around that top 10 in turnovers. Do that. You do that, Oklahoma's going to have a banner season.
Yeah, we was up there 23 because we gave up a lot at the end of the season. The TCU game, the Arizona game, which was more of an exhibition, of course. And I think it was Texas and Kansas were the only ones that scored 30 points or more against us besides those other two. So 4 out of your 12 games, you gave up under 30 points.
Yeah.
Can't complain about that, right? And as long as you put your numbers up, guess what? You're going to win. And that, to me, 23, we gave up 23 and a half on the season against some pretty solid offenses. That's big. So if we do that here, which the SEC is infamous for its defenses leading the way on these teams. I've seen a high octane offense from Ole Miss score like 14 points against Georgia, right? We've seen that. We've seen them teams, if your defense is there and you hold people down, that's a common thing. Right, that's a common thing in the SEC.
That too. How many of the other defenses in the SEC, Jay, are going to be able to slow down Oklahoma's offense? Number one, but any of the how I'm not looking across this SEC and thinking, man, they've got a full-on defense right there. We know that there's questions at Tennessee in their secondary for sure. There's questions in the secondary from Mizzou for sure. I think that Ole Miss, on paper, looks pretty good, right? But third and golding's third and golding. We'll see. But LSU, I know that they got some guys in there as far as the coaching staff is concerned, but they've struggled in putting guys in the room as far as the transfer portal is concerned. They're bringing in a bunch of young kids that have to learn it. And to me, I'm kind of starting to kind of, I guess, go over to the side of Coop here, that I just don't trust that defense at LSU right now. I know that they always bring in talent, but you have to season them just like we do at some point.
Right. I'm right here with Sooner in Texas. I'm ready for this to go line up. Go hit the field. Yeah. And we're going to do that very soon. That's the one thing we're good about, is that we will be doing that in 5 more Saturdays. Right, 5 more Fridays, guys. Oh, how does that feel?
49
Next month, technically. Next month.
Oh,
that's right.
Literally, this is the last month of no football, folks. I know that y'all are itching, because I'm fiending over here too. We get the college football video game to help us out. You know what I'm saying? We gonna get on it, but we gonna get that. We get that NCAA game tomorrow, and for the early adopters, and Friday for the rest to enjoy. So, all right, cool. Go to the next one. Let's talk about these coaching rankings, and then we're going to wrap things up and get up out of this bad boy. So I'm going to be honest. CBS Sports dropped this one. I'm not even going to do the other ones from like SEC Mike or any other people. I don't even care. We're going to leave it here at this one. But make sure y'all hit that like button if you're new to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, all that jazz. Coop, Jason, you see this list. Everybody lost their minds in a few ways. I lost my mind in one way. I'm still trying to figure out how's Kalen DeBoer number 4 on this list. When the guy above him, he beat twice, back-to-back years in bowl games. And he went to a school with more resources, more talent.
Yeah.
How do you drop that? Like, how does that happen? Like, how do you do that? I mean, are you rating the school or rating the coach? Because to me, if you're rating the coach, you recognize this coach with less resources went to national championship, beat that team. I want to understand this. This one's wild to me. Still a little perturbed. Jason, we'll go to you first.
Oh, really?
Does it make any sense?
None of it makes sense.
What jumped out to you, man?
Well, none of it makes sense. And absolutely, Kirby Smart is the only one that we know for sure belongs up there. And honestly, I'd say Brian Kelly, to some extent, probably does as well, because of the fact of what he did at Notre Dame and stuff. I don't know that I.
Or even what he did at LSU. He's won 10 games 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
He did, and I give him that. And they've had a Heisman Trophy winner, but he also fielded the worst defense in the history of the program, though, as well. So, which is a little wild to me. Steve Sarkisian being number 3 is the biggest joke I've ever seen in my entire life. Kalen DeBoer, I mean, you could argue him as high as number 2 here, because he took a team with less talent than he's got right now to the national championship game. They looked about the same as they didn't look good in the national championship game, but they got there. They beat Texas. He's 2-0 against Steve Sarkisian, with Steve Sarkisian's old team that he never won 10 games with. The guy went 25-3 at Washington, who was 4-8 when he got there. It makes sense. And, shout out to Steven from Fanatic Perspective, but, bruh, I don't care that he got to the playoff and won the Big 12. I don't care. Because he didn't he caught a break and not having to play Oklahoma again in the Big 12 championship game. Bottom line is once they got there, they did what they do. They fell apart. Eli Drinkwitz, number 7. What are we? One winning season? One winning season. He happens to win 11 games. Forget about Drink, though. But I will say this, and then you look at Brent Venables. I mean, come on, man. I love how everybody talks about acting like your time as a coordinator and your success as a coordinator has nothing to do with what you are as a head coach. Well, I don't believe in that. I don't buy into that at all whatsoever. The reason, a big reason why Clemson won 2 national championships and played for another one was because of the fact that defense was that good. And it was before they started getting a bunch of 5-star guys too. Yes, you needed to have guys like, Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson there as well. But you got to have those guys no matter what. But without that defense, they were never going to get to that place. You haven't seen them there since. You didn't see them there before. So to me, I don't think it's crazy that you got guys like Drink, who's again played an easy schedule. The good teams that they played, they got beat by. Their defense, they talked about their defense so much. That defense couldn't stop LSU enough for them to put up enough points on the worst LSU defense in history to get it done. That was a home game. Mm-hmm. They couldn't beat Georgia. Look, anytime that they've played anybody big, it's crazy to me. Again, I think that Josh Heupel is probably a little low on this list. I definitely think that Sarkisian probably, put him at number 7 or 8. Fine, I'm good with that. But Brent Venables not being at least in the top 8 here is insane to me, and it's just disrespectful. You stop and think about what he's done in 1 year's time when he took over a flaming wreck that was left by Lincoln Riley. I mean, they had 5 one-score losses in year 1. It could have been a lot worse, and they flipped it in year 2. And we're going to talk about the games that they lost, because they lost to Okie Light and Kansas. You know what? Kansas
Combined
isn't
8 points.
Isn't your daddy's. Yeah, combined 8 points, and Kansas isn't your daddy's Kansas anymore either.
Oh no, Lance Leipold is doing a freaking phenomenal job. He's getting recruits too, man. He's doing it all.
Right.
It's crazy.
That's what I mean. It's not like you can say whatever you want about the Big 12, and I know that's the SEC's favorite thing to do right now. Is all these what y'all did was in the Big 12. All right, bro. This has been the top conference for not even quite 2 decades now. Settle down.
Yep.
Settle down.
Simmer down, folks. Simmer down.
I love it.
Yeah, no. So for me, Venables being above 12, as I put it this way, everybody below Venables is on the hot seat for the most part. I mean, Levy's new, so he's got to be last. That's just kind of it is what it is to watch because Mississippi State was struggling. Unfortunately, they lost the Pirate. Rest in peace to Leach, Coach Leach. Oh. And so it makes sense they would put him at the bottom. He's the newest guy, first-time head coach, new things, blah, 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 blah. Clark Lay has been on the hot seat for a couple years. We'll see if Vanderbilt decides to finish their stadium or fire him. It'd be one of the two. Which one is going to happen first? Will the stadium be finished first, or is he going to get fired first? We don't know. And, of course, Pittman and Napier and Shane Beamer are all three on the hot seat. The anticipation is that all three ends up losing their jobs. But when I saw Venables there, him being a first-time head coach is the only reason why I see him at 11. And to be honest, I think 8 is the more fair number for him, but I'm okay with 11. I'm only okay with 11 for one reason. I just want us to go out there and punch people in the mouth and shut them all up. We do that, all the conversation is mute, right? It's a moot point. We just punch them in the throat. We win the games. Ain't nobody going to say nothing. Coop, when you see that list, what jumped out to you? What you think?
I mean, you guys pretty much went over everything. This is absolutely recency bias because Brian Kelly loses one of the most dynamic quarterbacks who is pressing to be a starter, for the Commanders right now.
In the NFL, baby.
Sarkisian, he is up there because he went to the playoff last year. And I'm not going to lie, that was a weak field. I still think Georgia makes it. They win the national championship. The fact that you just slide in Kalen DeBoer into Alabama, like we all made everybody, the Pac-12 is dead. Like that's how crappy that conference was, is it is gone now. And so, yes, you played the games that were in front of you and now you're at Alabama. Let's not get it twisted that Alabama didn't go straight to Kalen DeBoer as the top of their list. These things the things that we don't hear as regular fans, with the negotiations with coaches, is the list is really, really long. So all these guys, none of these guys have, outside of Kirby, nobody has done anything. And so this list, if you wanted to say tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, I think tier 1's Kirby Smart. Tier 2 is probably 2 to 11. Mark Stoops is a terrible season away from losing. Eli was on the hot seat going into this year. And so, I think somebody had said it and I highlighted it. So if I forget who it was, I'll say just this is we have an absolute opportunity, and the verbiage around Oklahoma, about to find out. Listen, you go in and you put it down on Tennessee pretty tough, and we're going to have a lot of people's narratives are going to get questioned, and a lot of people are going to have to look internally because it's not going to be respect out front, guys. If Oklahoma rolls out and puts it down on Tennessee and then goes out and beats Texas, the yeah buts are going to start coming out. The yeah buts. Yeah, but it's a long but Texas is who we thought they were. Yeah, but Nico is a freshman and just give him a few more years. It was at home and they got their first game. And of course, they were hyped up. All the yeah buts are going to be coming out.
Sure.
And then it's not going to be until towards the end of the season to where you're going, did we have some stuff wrong? Because it'll be the yeah buts and then, look what Oklahoma's doing. They're on a heater. Can they hold it on? Nobody's going to give the flowers until the end of the season. And it really doesn't matter. But I think that the question marks, from 2 to 16 are aplenty. And then I think that there's heat on Kirby Smart too, because with the continued situation on campus, with what is it now, 24 since the wreck that took someone's life.
Yeah.
Since that wreck, they've had 24 different situations. Now you've been there. Now everybody is telling you that, you guys are the premier program in the country now. A lot of people still have things to say. Like I said with Lane Kiffin multiple times, we've never seen the mercenary teams come together and do anything big. So, in the words of, I think it was also Herm Edwards, that's why you play to win the game. It's time to get out there on the field.
The game.
You get out there on the field to make it happen. So Oklahoma can look at it, and I'm not going to throw around excuses for last year. I could talk about pass interference calls and everything like that, but listen, this team has been curated by Brent Venables' staff for the past 2 years, and now he finally has everything he needs to have. And now we get to see what happens, because I promise you this, Sooner fans, I think that we are very, very, very fortunate that the offensive line is a big question, because I think it tempers our enthusiasm quite a bit. Because if we were returning, a really good offensive line right now, I think a lot of us would be losing our damn minds. And I think that the disrespect would probably still be in the same arena. And we would speak.
It's a question. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. So let's see what happens, because we got the schedule in front of us. Oklahoma has, and if we make it through the schedule at 10-2, 11-1, 9-3, or whatever, you are who your record says that you are. Yeah. But if Texas goes through with the same type of thing, everybody's gonna be able to throw out them. Yeah, but you guys got a cakewalk schedule. Missouri, same thing. Yeah, but you had a cakewalk schedule. And this is Jay, you've mentioned it multiple times. The way that this lineup is the schedule is organized for us, you get a couple of breathers between the bye weeks and Maine, and they're put really, really well. So Oklahoma is going to be what the record is at the end of the year.
Yep. That's the thing, is those strategic pauses within the schedule is the thing that makes me smile, right? You get your bye week, right before the Texas game, which is the one that you need the most, right? That's going to be a big physical game or whatnot. You go a couple weeks, right? You get a bye week before you travel to Oxford. So the other big game on the road, you don't get a pause there. Is that the one you get the pause on?
Oh, it's before Mizzou, right?
It's for Missouri. For Missouri, you get that break. That's the main game. And then you get the break right before Alabama. So Maine is technically a bye week.
It's your back. Yeah, that's your backup.
That's your SEC game. That's your SEC game. That's the one that you go ahead and write that check out for, right?
Yeah.
So we got it all in a line, which is beautiful. It's gonna work out a lot better than we expect. So all right. Wrap it up, put a bow on it. Coop, final thoughts. Jason, final thoughts, and then let people know where to find you.
I'm ready. This schedule that we're looking at, the players that are now in line. This is why we wanted to go to the SEC. And you got to think that we were hours away from being a Pac-12 team. Hours away. And I think a lot of people forget about that. I think the Pac-12 would still be around, but we would be in the same boat with the disrespect. So now if Oklahoma comes in and rolls in, and I'm just saying 10-2 or 11-1, if that happens this year, there's going to be no excuses anybody can have. Then at that point, you got to go, oh God. And okay, so what are they bringing back next year? Oh crap. They might be better in 25. And so this is it. And if we do struggle in the SEC this year, it is still in a position for us to continue to get better year after year. We've been recruiting at the top of everybody. This class coming together is going to be another one. The 26 class is going to be, 26 class could be our best class under Venables. And that says a lot because of the quarterback in place. And so
Good point.
There's not a lot to be sad about right now.
And Steven's got a good point here. We got to talk about NCAA. We'll talk about that in just a second. But Jason, let people know where they can find you. And your final thought before we go into these video game numbers. Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, my final thought would just be that again, I when you say if they struggle in the SEC, I think that struggle would be like 8-4. You know, I mean, and I think that most people would say that that's a successful first season in the SEC. Most people, not including Oklahoma fans, would say that. But I think that that's probably where you bottom out. To do anything less than that would be probably catastrophic things have happened, you know.
Yeah, fair point.
You know, so I feel like anything worse than 8-4 is, and that's your bottom. So to me, yes, I've been saying 9-3 for a while now. I still believe that I see the path to 10-2. I can see a path to 11-1, but I'm more along the lines of because I've always said that I feel like 25 is going to be their real first year to be that guy, that team that's going to really compete for everything.
Really competitive. Yeah.
For everything, all of it, for the SEC, for all of it, you know. But to me, I do feel like you had some things that have happened. Nick Saban retiring, you know, Dominic Williams, certain few things that have happened over the last 6 months now that have maybe moved it up a little bit. So I do feel good about it. I think that one of the things that's happening is this level of disrespect. Don't think that they don't hear it inside the Switzer Center.
The Switzer Center. Oh yeah,
they hear it. They know it. They love it. And in fact, you know that Brent Venables is licking his chops every time somebody says something like that. So continue talking, continue disrespecting, because Oklahoma's going to show up. And look, I'm not saying we're going to dominate, but you're going to get a fight every weekend.
That's true.
I'm ready.
Stink, thank you for the $20. We appreciate you always showing love and support. Yes, the Palace on the Prairie is going to be elite. It is. All right, real quick on some of these NCAA numbers, and we're going to let y'all go ahead and go home tonight. Y'all see Gentry Williams is on the video game sitting like a 80, like a 98 in speed. Bro, we got a corner that's that fast and can hit and can play defense. I'm looking at the wide receivers. Deion Burks sitting here at 93. You got Andrew Anthony at a 94, and he's still coming off injury. So they showed him love immediately with that. And Gavin Sawchuk's also a 98. Just know that we're going to be fast.
Yeah.
And we're going to be violent. Oh, gosh. I'm going to do it myself. Coop,
yeah.
Coop, it's not fair.
Game hits out tomorrow, and we're already starting to see, you know, Jay, you and I got a text, you know, with a screenshot of one of the players playing, and I've gotten a couple other in the DMs. And so, you know, guys are hitting this thing up, and it's been 10 years, and it is absolutely, I mean, this is great. I listen, and I was a negative Nancy. I bought the game last night. So I went through and I had, there you go, right? I just didn't think that I was going to have the time because of big boy job and this, but yeah, I'm going to, I'll be tired. I haven't gone to bed before 2 a.m. the past 3 nights. So let's make it 4 nights in a row.
Boom,
man.
Look at you. SEC ready.
Took third place in a poker tournament, and it was I had a bad beat. Pocket queens is what I flip, and he flips pocket kings on crap board. So
Rule 76. No excuses.
I forgot about it already. So no, this is great because we were talking about it in our Discord chat. It is like you got a size crew and you've got a speed crew, and both of them are legit. Like I love Brennan Thompson and all, but that he just has speed. Where Deion Burks, he's got a lot. And, you know, I think a lot of people are going to forget about Nick Six too, because of all the speed and everything out there. And then Jaden Gibson is out there going, hey, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to play. Like the weapons that you're going to see in the game are going to be vastly underrated for what I think they're actually end up going to be. So we get a chance to, you know, play a little game. Overall overrating is 87, offense and 86, and the defense is 89. Please tell me if I told you 3 years ago that our defense was going to head into the season as the strength of our team, a lot of you folks would be calling mental hospitals on on my behalf, and I sure as hell wouldn't be on the show with Jay at this point. So, listen,
we have you locked up, bro.
It's going to be fun, and I don't think I'm going to play with a crap team and do that stuff. Like, I'm going to play with Oklahoma for a few weeks before I move on, because I'm pumped up about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have 2 dynasties going, right? I plan on joining the online one, hopefully time permits for it. But I also plan on having just a sooner one on the side, just for me to do real recruiting and really caring or whatnot. I'm not gonna be one of them. I'm walking into the big boy job, day one. Give it to me. Take that. So, all right, as Steven has on the screen here, please shout out the Discord Dynasty on both consoles. We have that in the cord. You can find that in the description below of this video. If not in this one, on any of the other ones, hit that description. You'll find it. Please, before you leave out, wipe your feet. If you didn't like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Go ahead and give us 5 anyway. And with that, we will chop it up with every single one of y'all. I don't know, in what, a day or 2?
I'll see you on the morning.
Something like that. And Jason will see you in the morning on the show. Holler.